It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is September 2nd, John. How do we get into September already?
Well, I think we made it through August, Brad, and then I think that's how it works. That's how the calendar works.
Unbelievable. And when we do, this is the B block, the Bravo block, or we might call it the Brad block. How we just call it the Brad block? Because what do we have in the Brad block, John? What do we have?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
John does such a good job on that. And the only problem is John only does it once, but my women, they come in and do it twice. There they are right there. Okay, and it's time for...
It's number 3.
The St. Louis Sheriff. John, I have to ask you a question. Good old Andrew Bailey was going after the St. Louis Sheriff. What's Andrew Bailey doing now? He's not going after the St. Louis Sheriff. Is Catherine Hanaway going after the St. Louis Sheriff?
I'm not sure. Is she, Brad? Do you have the answer to that, or are you asking me?
I don't. Matter of fact, it's interesting because the thing that I found out is a St. Louis judge dismissed a motion Friday that could have removed Sheriff Alfred Montgomery from office. Okay, first off, I'm looking at a picture of Alfred Montgomery on stlpr.org, and let me tell you something. What a nice uniform he has. That doesn't look like any kind of standard issue police uniform to me. Have you seen this picture in STLPR?
No, I haven't seen it.
Take a look at it. It looks like he's like a Marine or something like that. It doesn't look like a police uniform. It's got, he's got the Smokey the Bandit hat on. I'm going like, I don't think I've ever seen the sheriffs in the city of St. Louis wear the Smokey and the Bandit hat. He's got the fancy schmancy 4-button coat. He's got the service stripes on his arms. I'm telling you, that doesn't look like the kind of sheriff that I know.
Well, they did spend a little bit more money on uniforms and kind of a rebranding of the badges, right? Maybe good old Alfred knows what he's doing.
So, John, what was interesting about this is we had your friend and mine, Bill Eigel, on Friday, and I think we made a little bit of news with this with respect that Bill really came out against the whole Andrew Bailey thing. Bill and I are kindred spirits in this. Him and I are on the same page, but John's not. John's like, well, if he's got a chance to make his life better with a new job, even though he said he was going to be the AG for 4 years, 8 months, that's good enough, right, John?
Yeah, exactly right. And I think normal people, and by that I mean a man not running for St. Louis County executive. And let's remember, Brad, 2 weeks ago on this very show, we talked about how Andrew Bailey endorsed Bill Eigel's opponent, Jason Law, for county exec. So Bill Eigel justifiably has a bone to pick. So he'll criticize Andrew Bailey for making a reasonable choice, and you'll criticize Andrew Bailey for making a reasonable choice because it's a reasonable choice. But get back to the sheriff, Brad.
Well, and the sheriff, there's all sorts of interesting things that have come out with this. He's being sued by one of his subordinates because what was it? Was a woman he put in handcuffs when she didn't pay attention to him or something
and so he's being investigated for that, and that's separate than all the other audit stuff and spending stuff. That's just abuse of power, allegedly.
And then there's the golden dice accusation, which is sort of interesting. I mean, you know the story on that, right? Or should we?
Yeah, we've talked about it many times on the show. Yep.
Supposedly he has a pair of golden dice, and when people come in his office that he's trying to deal with, he essentially pulls out the golden dice. And
it happened one time. Yeah, he told the gentleman that if he rolled correctly,
right,
he had one pair of a roll on the golden dice. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he rolled correctly, what was it? 7-Eleven? Was that what shooting was?
Yeah, it was something like it was some sort of a pitched battle that didn't make sense.
And essentially, if he rolled the right hand or whatever he called a roll, that he could keep his job. If not, he was fired. Wasn't that the deal?
Yeah. I mean, that seems like a pretty fair way. HR, Human Resources, always endorses that plan, Brad.
Hey, John and Monsanto. Hey, John, you've got a nasty gram from HR. So John goes to HR, and here's the HR lady. On one hand, she's got a roulette wheel, one of those carnival wheels that like you spin around, and it's like, okay, what prize did you win? Okay, John, you can have the golden dice, you can have one hand of blackjack, or you can have the prize wheel. We'll find out what your punishment's going to be for violating our HR rules. Which one would you pick, John?
I would pick, give me a golden parachute and get me out of here. I want to spend the rest of my days side by side with Brad Hildebrand.
I bet. Okay, ready for number 2?
Yeah, give it to us, Brad.
This one involves Rick Harrison of Pawn Star fame, okay?
Okay.
Interesting article. Rick has come out, and there's been some interesting news out of Las Vegas. And matter of fact, the news is there's not enough people in Las Vegas. Tourism is way, way, way down. And Rick Harrison has come out and essentially said, you know what he says is the reason why tourism way
What's
down?
that, Brad?
Too expensive. It used to be.
Wow. Okay.
And I know for a fact, because I've heard people talk about this, if you went up and down the strip, and especially the newer strip, the newer part of the strip, the southern part of the strip, down near the airport where all the big fancy schmancy places are, you could park at any of the parking garages. Not anymore. For free. That's what I meant. You park there for free. They charge you for parking. They charge you for everything. Okay? John, my very first time in Las Vegas, I hit Las Vegas at about 11 o'clock. Was driving out to the West Coast, had my little $100 car that I fixed, and I drove out to the West Coast. And I had heard about all these super bonuses, the super cheap food you get in Las Vegas. And, you know, because what they wanted you to gamble, so they enticed you with cheap rooms and cheap food. I remember
$2 steak at the Golden Nugget, right, Brad?
I went to Ron Schupak's Vegas World, which ultimately became the Stratosphere, and I think him and his father owned it, and they lost it when they tried to build the Stratosphere, and they got into financial difficulties. I sat at the bar in the Vegas World Casino. I had a T-bone steak dinner with French fries, salad, and a drink, and it was, you ready for this, John? And it was a
I'm ready.
big T-bone. I would say easily a 18 to 20 ounce T-bone. $2.99.
Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
So I hope you gave the waitress at least a 60-cent tip, Brad. Tip her 20%.
I gave her more than that. I think I gave her a 5. So I tipped her
so.
like 130%. Okay, try to find that today in Vegas. And that's what Rick is complaining about, that the Heritage Las Vegas, that they made their money at the tables. And I get it. They've got a lot of money invested. And I still say the problem that Las Vegas is having is back when I was a young guy, and that's been a long time ago, if you wanted to gamble, you want to play blackjack, you want to roll the dice, you want to spin that roulette wheel, you had to go one place in the United States, and that was Las Vegas. Now you can get in your car and you can drive to Maryland Heights, you can drive to St. Charles, you can drive to South City, you can drive to Alton. And once again, if you wanted to bet the sports book, you could go to Las Vegas and sit in the sports book area. Now you can grab your phone and for the time being, jump in your car, drive to Illinois, play the sports book, but coming soon. And John, help me on this. I always get mixed up on this. FanDuel and DraftKings to me are like the same thing, interchangeable. Which
Yeah,
one?
because they're not, but in your mind they are. Sure.
I know, but which one got the license and which one didn't?
DraftKings got the license. FanDuel did not.
But FanDuel is going to partner with one of the casinos, so essentially they're going to have a deal anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're a sports betting company, you're going to find a way. It's just a matter of how much you have to pay an existing entity to get in there. And Brad, if you're interested in stories about sports gaming and when it opens up, you can go to johncombest.com today and listen to an interview via MissouriNet with Missouri gaming chair Jan Zimmerman. That's a little pro tip for you, Brad.
Interesting. Is it? What does she talk about? The fact that when is the official date still December 1st? Is that what they're still saying?
Correct. Yeah, it's only 3 months away. That's the headline from MissouriNet, and so folks will be able to get their fix on starting on December 1st.
John, I've never mentioned this before, but as a young man, actually as a kid in high school, if you would have said to me, and I've never mentioned this at all before, I've never even said this, but
yeah, you've never mentioned at your high school graduation. Talk about drugs, gambling, and prostitution, Brad. Tell that story. It'll be the first time.
I would say.
And you talked about Las Vegas 2 weeks ago. Go ahead, Brad.
I would say if someone said to me, young man, stay a while in Missouri. We'll have the lottery. We'll have casinos. We'll have legalized sports gaming. We'll have that all in Missouri. We'll have legalized marijuana. And I'd go like, this is Missouri. We're never going to have that, right? But was I wrong or what?
You would have thought that they had been smoking ditch weed, and the ditch would have been Coldwater Creek.
Right. Okay, you ready for number one?
Yeah, give it to us, Brad.
And now, Big Finish, Brad's number.
John, I am a contrarian, okay? And I've talked many times about the fact that the Freedom Caucus has blown it by the fact that it keeps saying, we're going to do this initiative, IP reform stuff, and we're going to do it in this session. Matter of fact, I told you just last week or the week before I heard Justin Sparks. Is Justin right? I get him mixed up.
Yep, you're right, Brad.
It's Justin Sparks and Jason Law, correct? Did I get that correct now?
Correct, yeah.
Okay,
that's right.
Justin Sparks was on with Tony Colombo on the refugee station, and he was saying, number one issue for us when we go back in session back in January is IP reform. And I kidded about the fact that how many times have we heard that?
You say it every week, Brad. What's new this time?
I have a suggestion. And me being a wannabe, because I have not been able to get into the Super Freedom Caucus myself, but being a potential Super Freedom Caucus guy, I want to tell you what I think the issue should be.
Oh, what should it be, Brad?
The issue should be that Missouri should call up all the different cities around the country and say, hey, we will take all of your illegal immigrants. Matter of fact, we're going to carve out an area of the state, and that's going to be, we want 300,000, 400,000, 500,000 illegal immigrants in Missouri. And people would go, why would you want that, Brad? Because that way we can get back to 9 congressional seats. How's that, John? Because
I love that idea. And really, Brad, I don't mean to step on your point here, but that's what we would say as partisan Republicans, speaking for myself, what Democrats have done in California and Texas and other states. Democrats want illegal immigration because when you count the census, you don't count voting legal citizens, you count population, right?
You count, it's a head count. It's not whether
it's a head count. That's all it is.
It's not whether or not you were a citizen of the United States. And that's why Missouri should use a concerted effort to go out and find these illegals. I mean, run ads, have different people come in and do one in Spanish, do one in all sorts of different languages, do one in Arabic. Hey, come to Missouri. We love you here. And we'd pick up an area because of the fact that again, you and I talked about this before. Once you get north of I-70, the state of Missouri, there's not much up there population-wise. It's pretty slim pickings, right?
And let me see where you're going here, Brad. Are you saying maybe we have a good fenced-in area where we can just keep all the illegals in one spot?
No, I'm not saying a fenced-in area. We just make it right for them. We build a nice city. We could call it Refugee City, and we could put it up like in northern Missouri, and it could be a huge area. And matter of fact, some of the farmers who didn't want to give up their land for the what's
the name of it, Brad? It's GBE. That's your hint.
Grain Belt Express. We can essentially say to them, "Hey, we've got something. You wouldn't give up some of your 100 square feet for us to put a transmission line tower in your property. How about we give you 500 farm workers, and you don't have to pay them." Because we'll just put them on the payroll. We'll just put them on the payroll for one of the parties, the Democrats or the Republicans. And that way we can go back and say, okay, we now only are doing redistricting, but we're going back to having 9 congressional districts in the state of Missouri. What do you think, John?
I think that could work. And then I think after the census, we find a way efficiently to use our rail system or our, Boeing planes to send them back to wherever they came from. Because, I mean, we don't want to keep them here after they're useful, right?
They're just sort of like rent a citizen kind of thing.
Yeah. It's like Democrat protest rallies. You have people that are paid to be there, and then they ship out. And if you had to ask them why they're there, they wouldn't know.
Yeah.
So I like that idea, Brad. I mean, I would be obviously concerned with safety when you have an infestation of immigrants. You're going to have a lot of crime and disgustingness and especially body odor. But you could probably find a way to work around that.
I'm telling you. I mean, and once again, not just necessarily, illegals. We go to all the cities and say, hey, we want your homeless people. Matter of fact, we like the city of St. Louis, go down there. Hey, you know what? You got a homeless problem. Matter of fact, I was reading something just over the weekend, another Las Vegas story about how the homeless problem has gotten to be huge in Las Vegas. Huge in Las Vegas. I'm thinking to myself, okay, once again, if I were going to be a homeless person, I don't think I'd pick a place where the temperature gets to be like 110 in the summer.
No, or too cold in the winter.
Right.
You would rather have somewhere like, I don't know, Brad, stay with your son in Pensacola?
Or San Diego,
or San Diego,
or LA, or someplace in SoCal, some place where you got the nice ocean breezes and stuff like that. I don't think I'd want to be in Las Vegas and a homeless person in the summer, but that's what they're doing. So, okay, that's my top 3, John. We got a couple minutes. God, my new clock's working out so well. We are actually ahead of schedule for once. Is that amazing? or what?
That's pretty amazing, Brad. And I just love the fact that now you're going to have military precision with everything you do with timing. So tell me what goes into getting official GPS time. Like, why did your buddy have to do it? You're really technologically advanced, Brad.
This guy is an expert. These are GPS. Actually, it gets really interesting because he turned me on a couple different things, and I still don't necessarily understand this. GPS time is different from UTC's time, which is the universal coordinated time. GPS time runs everything right now. All the cell sites, and this is nerd stuff, all the cell sites that you are on have a GPS antenna, and they use it for timing because everything has to be timed perfectly. What happens right now is I have a GPS receiver. I have a GPS antenna here at the studio. I've had it for a long time, but my receiver's broke. And because they're old, matter of fact, when I had two of them that were broken. I sent them to this guy.
Wait, you have old broken equipment, Brad?
Yes, I have old broken equipment.
Wow, I thought that had no place in your life.
No, I have old broken equipment. And matter of fact, just yesterday I visited my burnt out lawnmower at the transmitter site, but that's a whole other story. But the GPS, what's interesting about this is GPS is now pretty much timing everything. And you get to be a nerd like me. You drive down the highway, you see the GPS antennas all over the place on traffic signals and things like that because everything is coordinated. And the interesting thing about it was, I remember years ago when one of my sons was still in high school and the teachers were complaining about the fact that the students were not showing up to class on time. And the interesting part of the factor was that the time for the school was off by a couple of minutes, and a couple of the students were really smart, would say like, but teacher, the time on my phone is exact to the second. The clocks in the school are wrong. I'm on time. The clocks are wrong in the school. And they were right because the clocks were off by a couple of minutes. Now you have, and I know this for a fact, if you go to the Wentzville City Hall, the clocks in the Wentzville City Hall are GPS clocks. They are.
Oh, what an efficiency there, Brad.
Yes. They don't have it. They're not losing time. They're not slacking for seconds and things like that. And it is exactly on the money. Anyway, long story made short, these are older units that had the receivers had gone out of them, and their parts no longer available for them. And so what this guy has to do is he gets new receiver modules and puts them in and has to write a little bit of code and stuff like that, which is beyond my level of expertise.
And how will that improve your operation, Brad?
Well, it'll see, ultimately, the problem we have with the clock and the computer that runs the radio station, it drifts and it gains about 2 seconds a month. And if I don't reset it all the time, and there's a way, I know people out there going, there's a way you can do that. Well, there is. So with
literally nobody just said to the radio, there's a way you can do that. Literally nobody said that, Brad. Go ahead.
I can put a card in my computer here that runs the radio station, and I will link this into my GPS clock, and the radio station computer will always be exactly to the minute.
I see. Okay, well, and that sounds like that would save you time going forward, right? Because you wouldn't have to keep readjusting your time.
One of the problems we get is if the clock gets a little bit out, because we have everything timed with the top of the hour news and stuff like that. If the clock gets about 9 or 10 seconds out of sync, nothing works properly anymore. As crazy as it may sound, everything goes to sort of hell because there's things supposed to happen exactly like at 8 o'clock. And if it happens at like 8 o'clock and 11 seconds, things that they're in the computer, they're programmed to have like a 10-second window. If it exceeds that 10-second window, things don't work anymore. So that's why it's important. See, John, aren't you glad I informed you about stuff like this?
Yeah. Now, I haven't seen a staff memo on this. Does meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki, is she up on this? Like, because I know she delivers meteorological reports at a very specific time. Does she know about this?
It's interesting you should mention that because that will fix a problem with that as well, too. It's
really about the timing of it?
Yes, it's crazy. What's sort of interesting about this is, matter of fact, if you want to talk about this in the C block.
There's probably something more interesting that people might actually care about.
Well, can I give you in the C block, can I just give you a little short dissertation about...
Yeah, please do. And that's because Jennifer is now in a pinup magazine next to producer Christy, right?
Yeah, right.
Because they're both AI, and we both like to look at them.
Well, what I was going to say is there's a very interesting tie-in between time and the stock market. And I don't know if you know this story or not, which is actually...
Oh, no, I don't. Brad. Interesting.
Actually sort of fascinating. Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with C Block, and I will tell that brief story about how timing and the stock market became an issue.